Hey guys, Mama Sam here. So, I'm actually having a pretty bad day, having a pretty high symptom day, which is kind of normal for me about this time of the month. Um, with my, um, what's a nice way of saying period? I don't know. Anyway, but because of my period and because I have POTS and endometriosis and polycystic ovarian syndrome and IBS, whenever I get that time of the month, I get like this basically. No appetite. I feel very weak. I'm very anemic, so. But don't worry, it's okay. It's normal. I'll be fine here in a couple of days. I just have to wait for my hormones to get back to normal and whatnot. But I didn't want to miss out on our stories today. Our Ghost Story Mondays from now on will be Ghost Story Mondays. So today I have two stories to tell. Actually, I have like 2.5 stories to tell you. I have two stories that are real that really happened, and then one story that also really happened, but it's more of a lighter mood type thing. So, and also forgive me if I keep looking away from you. I'm so trained to look above for my webcam, and I'm recording this on my phone, so now the camera's over here. Yeah, you guys are like, what are you talking about? But it's on the lower left-hand side, so I keep kind of forgetting to look over there. So, oh, and my daughter's also upstairs, so if she makes some noise, I'm sorry. So for story number one, let's set the mood though. Let's get it kind of spooky and scary in here, okay? Let's dim the video down a little. Let's get some spooky music in the background. Yeah, let's do this. All right, so the first story I'm going to tell you, I don't know that it has anything to do with ghosts. So anyway, I was actually born and raised in Indiana. I consider myself a true Indiana native because I was actually born in California and I don't want to have anything to do with that. So, but I only lived in California for like 4 years, I think. And then we moved to Indiana and I lived there until I was 14. So, go Hoosiers. This took place in the summer. And I don't remember what year it was, but I would say it must have been I was probably around 9 or 10. Maybe even a little older. But definitely not older than 12. But I want to say I was like 10 years old. And I had a friend staying the night. And it was nighttime outside. And as it started to go from light to dark, we started to notice like these really faint green flashes in the sky. And as it got darker, they got super bright. They were just these super bright neon green flashes of light in the sky. It wasn't like gradual, like softly would light up the sky and then gradually no, they were like boom, boom, boom. They didn't make noise, but they did, like they would just suddenly come out of nowhere and they would light up the whole sky. It wasn't like just one area above us where the sky was lighting up green. It was as far as the eye could see. The whole sky was lighting up green. Now, because I was younger at the time, I had a friend staying the night. We thought it was so funny. We were laughing, we were running and looking outside and stuff like that. And when the lights would flash, we'd be like, and hide under the covers, but we were laughing the whole time. So we thought it was funny. I remember my mom, she was terrified. Now, we lived in Indiana since, I moved to Vegas when I was 14, and I moved to Indiana. So for 10 years, I lived in Indiana. This was not lightning. I've never seen anything like that before, and I've never seen anything like it since then. It would even sometimes the colors would just be like, it was mostly green, but sometimes it would light up blue and red, like just all over the sky. It looked like something out of War of the Worlds. And me and my friend, we went to sleep. And when we woke up the next day, my mom was thumbing through a newspaper. And I'm like, what are you doing, Mom? She's like, I'm trying to see if I can find anything on those green flashes because it's not on the news this morning. I thought maybe it would be in the newspaper. Well, there was never any report about it. And like I said, this wasn't lightning. I love thunder and lightning storms. Absolutely love them. Probably the only thing I miss about Indiana. That was not lightning. There was no way in hell that was lightning. I don't know what that was, but it wasn't lightning. It was just, I mean, the whole sky. The whole sky was lighting up. It was so strange. And I remember my mom, I asked her, I was like, well, when did it stop? And she said, it didn't. It didn't stop ever. Like literally from the time the sun started to go down and it was like dusk, you were starting to see like flashes in the sky, but not until it got totally dark outside did you see like the magnitude of it. My mom said that when my dad was getting up to go to work at like 4 a.m, it was still going. So it was all night long, these bright flashes. And she said even as the sun started to come up, it was still going on, but it's almost like the sun came up and it was bright and now you can't see it. So we never got any answers onto what that was, but I remember going to school because this was during the weekend, and when I went back to school on Monday, there was I was sitting with my best friend at the time in elementary school. Her name was Brittany, and Brittany, she lived out in the country. Like me and my family, we lived in the suburbs. Brittany was a true country girl. She lived in the country, creek in the backyard, forest all around her, cornfield across the street. So I asked her, I'm like, did you see it? She's like, no, I didn't see any green flashes. She was like, probably just lightning. And I'm like, it wasn't lightning. And there was this other little girl that sat across from us. And I remember she was like, nobody really ever talked to her, which is really sad, but she was kind of that quiet, weird kid. And I mean, she was an absolute sweetheart and very meek. And I remember when Brittany was like, no, I didn't see that. And I'm like, I don't know what it was. And then her name was Mallory, and she was just kind of like, I saw them. Like, so yeah, other people did see it, but I don't know what it was. I still don't know what it was to this day. So story number 2 took place after I'd moved here to Vegas, and I was in school, in high school, Western High School. Go Western. No, not really. That school was terrible. I was like 16 at the time. Now I was older. And there was this, I had been known in high school to not make the best decisions and would sometimes ditch school. You know, just saying, don't ever ditch school, ever. But there was this parking lot across from the street it was an abandoned daycare. And it wasn't a very big one. It was pretty small. And it was just a square box. Like the building was just a box. And it had a front door, and that was it. Like, it had front door, and it didn't have any windows because it had those type of windows that if you go to Starbucks, like the drive-through, you know how there's windows, but they look like kind of black where you can't see in, but they can see out. Those were the kind of windows they had on this daycare. And so I was over there with my best friend through high school, Ashley, and our 2 other friends, these twins named Melanie and Lauren, who were just absolute demons. I swear, they were just bad girls. Me and Ashley weren't hanging out with a good crowd at this time. I had my back to the daycare, so obviously the front of the daycare is facing the street, the main street. We were behind it, the very back behind it, and my back was to the Starbucks collared windows, and so was Ashley's. And Melanie and Lauren are standing in front of us talking. And Melanie just all of a sudden is like, oh my gosh. And she runs away laughing. And we're like, what? And she points down towards like the ground. She's like, there's faces in the window. And I'm like, what? And Ashley turns around, looks, and then she like takes off screaming and laughing, thinking it's hysterical. She's like, oh my gosh, there are. So I turn around, and so I look down, and let me stand my camera up for this so you guys can see. So I look down at these windows, and there's 3 of them in the exact same position, perfectly lined up, faces in the windows with their hands pushed next to their faces. 3 of them identical in a row. Every single one of them looked identical. And when I first saw it, I thought, oh, these must be like paintings or something, or pictures that kids made. You know how kids would like cut out their hands and then they'll hang them on the wall and stuff like that. I'm like, that must be what this is. So I get down closer and I'm looking at this thing, and as it looks, or as it's staring out the window, because it's not moving at all, and I get down like close, face to face with this thing, and this thing is seriously like, I'm not even joking. It looks right at me and it starts blinking. I freaked out. I screamed and I took off running. And at the time I'm all laughing. I'm like, oh my God, there are faces in the window. And then as I got older, I'm like, what was that? All three of them were perfectly lined up in a row. They had no features except for eyes, nose, and mouth. There was no eyebrows. There was no hair. They almost look like aliens, but that is not what I am getting at, I promise. I don't think they were aliens. I don't know what they were. Whatever they were, all three of them were identical, white, totally white, washed out. And even when I'll never forget the eyes, because I'll never forget the eyes that were not looking at me. And then all of a sudden the eyes look up at me and they're like staring right at my soul. I still didn't really know until it started blinking that was somebody staring me back in the face. And I don't know what it was or who it was. I just know it was creepy. For these things to just look so white, pale, like ghosts, I don't know what it was. It was creepy. And it's something that out of all of my experiences, which I don't have many, but out of all of them, that one probably sticks with me the most, because I was just face to face with this thing, whatever it was, looking up at me like it didn't know what I was, like totally just enamored. But to have all three of them standing so close together, all perfectly with their hands next to their faces, is just very, very eerie. So for my last story, which is a very fun story. Now, this is something that I'm actually going to talk about in one of my videos. I believe they are called the Kellysville Aliens Incident. Gosh, I cannot speak. If you don't know anything about it, you can just research it online. It was something that happened in the 50s on this farm with these alien creatures, and the creatures from that are actually what was the inspiration for the alien in Lilo and Stitch. So this was a real event that happened that was documented. The police came and documented all this kind of stuff. So I was watching something about it, and I'm sitting here where I was actually sitting like right here where I am, and I have a window right over there, and the window was open, but as I'm sitting here I've only got one light on behind me, which is the kitchen light. All the other lights are off, and I'm sitting here watching TV. And I see a face pop up in the window. And I am horrified because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's the aliens from the video. Because there's this like myth that if you try to summon them, they will come. And I was watching the video summoning these creatures. So as I'm sitting there looking, and this face is like peering up through the windowsill. It's got big ears like it does and the green glowing eyes. And I'm just sitting there and my heart's starting to pound. I'm like, this can't be real. Like, oh my God, oh my God. It was a cat. Oh my gosh. I just lost 10 years off my life. So yeah, anyway, that's it. That's all the spooky stories I've got for you. My own personal spooky stories. I don't have any other ones. So I will dig around and find some more so that I can share with you guys. In fact, maybe the next video I do will be more information on the Kellysville incident, because that is really, really interesting. It's a really interesting story, whether you believe in aliens or not, or whatever it was. Something happened out there. It was weird, and it has never been able to be explained to this day. So more fun stuff like that coming. So if you liked the video, please like and subscribe and comment down below. Again, send your stories to sharewithmamasam@gmail.com. First and foremost will always be your chronic illness stories. But then also, when I say ghost stories, I just mean anything fun like that. Ghosts, aliens, demons, monsters, anything like that, you can send it. So I'll read it. I'll read whatever you guys send, actually. It doesn't even have to be any of that. And hopefully, Mama Sam will be feeling better in the next couple of days. So be well, friends. Bye.